Fight and Talk back again. And today I'm delighted to be joined by UFC Lightweight Mason Jones. Mason, it's been, what, 5 months since we spoke? Since then, you've been the champ of Cage Warriors. You've got signed to UFC. You fought on Fight Island. It's been quite busy for you.
Yeah, Fight of the Night, and I was voted Fight of the Month as well, so it's going well.
If we do sort of like, I guess, a whistle-stop tour of the last 5 months, of course, back in September, you faced Adam Proctor and you sealed yourself as a champ there at Cage Warriors. What was that like for you? I know it's going back a little while now, but when you did get that second belt, how was that for you to cement your legacy at Cage Warriors?
Yeah, there's not a word I could use to describe it, because obviously the first belt was something that I'd always pictured, or I'd always visioned, something I'd always sort of I dreamed about it being on my goal board for a long, long time. And it's something that I always wanted to do. Like, I always wanted to go through Cage Warriors, win the lightweight strap, and then move on to UFC. So it was something that it was sort of inevitable for me. Like, I've said that a long time, but that's what it was. The welterweight strap was something completely unprecedented, something that I hadn't sort of pictured myself doing. It was just, like I said, it was perfect circumstance. I took the opportunity, and it just all worked out well for me. Yeah, I can't really put it into words. Overwhelming would be one. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, to join those other two big names, it just crazy, and it does cement my legacy, and it sort of boosted me into a good place to move into the UFC. And obviously my debut didn't go the way I wanted it to, which I'm sure we'll move on to. There's a lot of things I would have preferred to have done differently looking back, but it is what it is. I did the best I could at the time, so move on to the next, be a better fighter, and win the next.
As you say, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the clip, but when you got signed, I believe it was an Apex clothing photo shoot you ordered. Graham had the cameras rolling. For those who haven't seen it, can you just sort of tell us a bit about how you finding out you'd been signed came about? And again, the emotions you were feeling there. I know you had your girlfriend with you at the time as well. And
so straight after the fight, actually, I think it was a few days after, Graham invited me to a photo shoot. A couple of weeks later, I can't remember how long it was after. I think it was 3 weeks. I'm sure it was October or something. October the 9th. He asked me to come up for the photo shoot. So I went up with my girlfriend. We've been doing the photo shoot for most of the day. Obviously, he asked me to bring my belts up for the photo shoot and be doing stuff. And then at one point, they were like, oh, do you mind leaving the belts when you leave? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, do you mind leaving the belts? And I said, well, why? And he said, oh, but you don't need them anymore. And I said, oh, why? And he said, obviously, welcome to the UFC. So then it was just sort of like an overabundance of emotion, because, again, it's sort of like, it was sort of like a relieved breath, like a weight being taken off your chest. Because for me, it was something I'd worked towards, and I did all this work, and I was a bit uncertain whether I'd done enough to get signed or whether I was going to have to look for another fight. But I sort of set myself up for so much that sort of not getting signed would have been a bit of a failure for me. So for me to finally get signed, it was just sort of like, again, another deep breath. Like, the same as the winning that lightweight strap, it was something that I'd always planned for, something that was inevitable, and something that sort of was just a relief. So, yeah, it was unbelievable. Like I said, I think looking back, one of the first things I said was, obviously I need to call my dad. He's someone who had a big load of support for me, and someone who's helped all the way through. So he's the first person I wanted to tell the news to. Obviously, my girlfriend being there, because she's normally the first. So yeah, it was insane.
a few months then, again, further down the line, January, we were at Fight Island then for you, what was that experience like? It was your first UFC experience. It was in Dubai. The fight even itself, having fans there, it's something you've not had through all of the year prior. What was the full Fight Island experience like for you?
Different. Yeah, really different. So it was a bit longer, obviously. I think I not all together, I think we was away for 17 days with everything, with all the COVID tests, the isolation periods, and yeah, like, it was unbelievable. Fight Island is an unforgettable experience. Like, the whole thing is just insane, and it was nice having fans back. Like, I didn't really notice the fans, to be fair. There was a few there cheering for me, and my coach just said they could hear a lot of people screaming. But I just sort of go in my own zone, and like I love the experience. I still remember the walk, and I remember obviously bits and pieces of the fight. But it's just one of them things. Like, I didn't by any means stick to my game plan. I went completely off script, and just made a load of mistakes. And again, like someone I've asked questions like, did you feel any pressure? And there was no pressure. Was there anything different that sort of affected you mainly? And there was nothing really. Like there was a couple of excuses I could give that I sort of didn't feel 100%. But like when you look at people like John Jones, Habib, and these people, like John Jones have had 15 title fights or defenses, and like I'm sure one of those appearances he hasn't felt 100%. But it doesn't matter. You just go out there and you do all you need to do to win. So unfortunately for me, I didn't quite do enough. But it is what it is.
For you being out there, of course, of being this massive event, 3 fight nights in 1 week, it's the UFC, it's your first time fighting in the UFC. Was that something that you sort of compartmentalized and kept until you got home to look back and really enjoy that? Or did you just take the whole experience as a whole and just love every minute of it?
Yeah, I just love I love every minute of it. Like I love the weight cuts. I love all of the other stuff, the traveling. I try and enjoy all of it. Like I try to make sure I filmed a lot of it just so you can sort of see a lot more, because you don't really get to see like all the isolation sides of it, like all the travel, different things. And like there's still a lot we actually miss. So there's a lot I obviously couldn't film. But like you don't really, I know it sounds silly, but you generally don't realize the level of the UFC until you're actually part of it. And to see how professional they do everything is just insane. Like they cannot do enough for you. Like the medal checks. Like I actually, so this will be a bit of a what's the word? New news for everyone. I actually got in trouble after my fight. So yeah, so after my fight, obviously you've seen the photo that I put up where I have the black eye. I look smashed up, to be honest. I always bruise quite easy, but it was considering I didn't bring my left hand up for the entirety of the fight, just ate every overhand rightly through. I was quite bruised. So after the fight, we sat down eating food because we went back to the hotel room, had a quick shower. I sort of sorted my head out and we went for food straight away. Took some glass on, went for food, and my eye was slowly swelling. So it started to close. So we was talking to my coaches and all, and my coach was like, "Look, let's just go see if they got a doctor there," because I'd already been cleared, and let's go see if they got a doctor or nurse just to have a look. Just to give your eye a little bit of a clean, because I had some scratches where I think your stomach got in my eye at one point. It opened a little bit, and I had an old cut that had sort of reopened a little bit on my other eye. Nothing big, just scrams more than anything. But they were bleeding and weeping, and because my eye was swelling, he said, "Look, let's just go ask if they've got anything to sort of clean your eyes so we can get some ice on it properly and all sorted." So we went back and said, "Look, do you have a doctor or nurse who can just literally just have a look at my eye, give it a bit of a clean?" And they were like, "Oh, there's a nurse here." So I said, "Yeah, perfect." So she said, "Look, I'll just send a photo to the nurse." She sent a photo to the nurse. The nurse was like, "Oh, you need to go to hospital to get a CT scan." And I was like, "Look, I'm not going to hospital. My eye's fine." I was like, "If I open my eye, I can see fine. It's just swelling. Honestly, it's fine. My jaw's fine. The doctor's checked my whole structure, everything." And you can tell if you've got injuries a lot of the time. Like I had no headaches, no fits of dizziness. I was fine. So like, no, you need to get a CT. I said, honestly now, I said, the structure of my eye is fine. My cheekbone all's fine. I felt all the way around. I can see clearly. When I open my eye, it's clear. It's just swelling that's closing my eye. I bruise a lot. I was like, honestly, by tomorrow, it'll be gone. So we went back to the room, and then my manager called, and he's like, "I'm getting calls off people. I shouldn't be getting calls. Go to the Ashton hospital." I was like, "Right, no problem." So full hazard suits, a lot, face masks, like literally biohazard suits. A person in a biohazard suit chucked us in an ambulance. Ambulance took us to hospital, and then I was in hospital until 3 o'clock in the morning getting these CT scans and stuff. And everything obviously come back clear. There was nothing new there, but obviously the UFC they have to, whenever they think there's calls for something, then you obviously have to follow suit. So it was fair, and obviously it just means they're trying to look after the fighters. We got back to the hotel. 3 o'clock in the morning, we got to the room. We had to wait to be COVID tested before we go to sleep. Went to sleep. We was in isolation then until 8 o'clock at night the next day, and then they released us from the room. We went out, got food, got back to the room. I got to sleep at about 11 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, there was someone banging on the door. We didn't know they had to COVID test us again. So they COVID tested us again, and then we went back to sleep. So yeah, it was wild, but it just sort of shows the level of security and sort of how health conscious UFC are. Like they would give us numbers if there's any problems to ring. They said, like, if anything happens, please call these numbers straight away. Please don't hesitate. Because I know a lot of people would be worried about things. But to be fair, my coaching team keep an eye on me. My coach who was in a room with, I don't think he really slept that night. He wanted to keep an eye, not because of like anything. He just gets worried about me after fight. So especially he said to me after the fight, he said, "Was you hungry?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I was fine." He said, he said, "You looked angry." He said, "You had your mouth open trying to eat all his overhand rights he kept throwing." I was like, yeah, we all good. We was in good spirits. Like, obviously, I was heartbroken, not because of the loss, but just because I knew I could have done more. And it was close anyway. And there was so many different things. If I just sort of did a couple of extra little things, I think I would have won that fight. Like, it was a close fight, but I think it was a couple of things that would have just clinched the fight for me.
I know straight after the fight, you gave an interview to Nick Peet in BT Sport, and in that, Nick had asked you about whether the pressure of the O had now gone, and you said, "Look, that wasn't something you particularly fussed about. It was just one of them. It happens to everyone." But what you had said as well is that you were going to go back, watch the fight back over, and see where the little mistakes were. I'm presuming now you've had time to go back over it. What have you taken away from it now, being able to watch it back?
So watching it back, there was a couple of things. So my game plan going into that fight was to hold the center, to draw him in, to pick him up on the way in, and to find those angles to get around him and hit the front leg, slow him down, and look to pressure him with just my strikes, just draw him into loads of strikes and make him reach and make him sort of uncomfortable and not press him. My whole plan was to draw him into me. So when I went in there, I straight away went to find the range. And he had quite a, not a long reach, because I had a bit of a longer reach than him, but he found range quite quick. And for some reason, my legs felt a little bit heavy. Like, that's not an excuse. It's just something that it was. I felt a little bit heavy on my feet. Like, I couldn't feel like I get a rhythm. And I ended up pressuring. I sat into my front leg too much instead of my back leg, kept my left hand low. Again, little change if I just kept my left hand nice and high, covered nice and high, elbow in deep, and just kept it up. Those overhand rights he was throwing now all of a sudden wouldn't have had such a home, and his significant strikes wouldn't have been as significant. And considering I won most of the stats, it probably would have won me a bit more of the fight. Obviously, end of the first, I got taken down. Again, I just pressured too much because he found the range. Rather than sort of ease out and hold the center and draw him in, I pressured. When I pressured, I didn't pressure correctly. I walked him down, and the way I was walking him down, I left my hips really open. I didn't level change at all. A couple of level changes would have defended my hips more, and then when he came in, I could have fired my hips, and I sort of could have separated off. That would have stopped the takedowns. When he took me down, I worked up quite well, but I lost the first round. Going in then, I sat back in the corner. I said, "Look, I'm a round down. I need a chase." So again, there was no need. Go back out there fresh, draw him into the center, and draw him in, and just pick him off. And you have to be savage in it. And I pressured. My coach said, "Look," he said, "if you got a pressure, hand up and don't go in straight." I kept my hands low and I went in straight. But I overwhelmed him in pressure. Like my cardio all the way through the fight was fine. Like I didn't gas at all. I had even though I did look tired in the third. I was fine. I can keep up that pace. Like normally, I can keep a higher pace than that. I think after the first round, because I was so worried about being a round down, I thought, look, just outscore him. Make sure you're outscoring him and land those shots, and you'll either backward pressure or you'll beat him on the stats. So I started throwing shots I didn't need to, and I stopped throwing significant shots. So when I mean significant, I mean shots that was going to hurt him. I stopped really trying to sort of land big shots and was more busy. Was too busy sort of worrying about how much the volume I was sort of throwing. My kicks, I didn't set my kicks up at all. My spins were better again, but they're out of range. I didn't set anything up, and like these things needs to be smooth. They were all separate transitions, and then third round, I level changed a little bit, shot some different sort of takedowns. When I was shooting for the takedowns, I was coming too high on his hips and rising up where I should have stayed on his hips and chased it. I pressured again the first 2 minutes. I think I won the first 2 minutes of the third round. And that last minute, he really started to score. So if I just gone with the whole game plan we had, which was where we went back and said, look, when it comes to that last minute, just take him down and win that last minute, that fourth minute, the fourth to fifth minute, just make sure you win, take him down and just win him. And I didn't do it, and he had a game plan. Now you just when I watched it back, his corner said, "Make sure you win that last minute," and he did, and he sort of nicked the fight.
Something I find really interesting there with what you're saying is that almost as the fight's going on, you're scoring it in your head yourself. You come back to the corner, you know what's going on with the round. There's a lot made about judging at the minute, and it's quite clear there from your sort of roundup of the fight that you really do understand that judging criteria. How important do you think that is for athletes to know what will be winning them a fight and what won't?
In MMA, I don't think that is clear. A lot of people couldn't even tell me the exact reason why I lost that fight. So I got told by one of the judges after the fight. Well, not by one of the judges, by someone who's very, very experienced. That the takedowns at the start of the fight didn't score because he didn't keep me down, and then the reason that he won was his significant strikes. Even though he didn't have as many as me, they were slightly more significant. So how do you score that? It's a weird thing because I had more cage control, I had more aggression, I had more strikes, more significant strikes. Um, he had more takedowns, obviously, and he marked me up a bit more. But it was weird on the scoring. When you find you score it round by round, a lot of time you're just guessing. Like I knew I'd lost the first because he had those takedowns. Whether they score it or not, he's still the one who's managing to get those takedowns, and people still score him quite highly. The second round, even though I thought I'd won coming back to the stool the second round, it was too close. And when they're too close to the call and it's not an easy divide, then what are you going to do? So again, it was just experience more than anything. Like I mean, it's a learning game every time. Like I'm not wet behind the ears in any aspect of the game, but every time you have to improve and every time you have to learn. So we're really going to slow things down now and rebuild from the ground up. There's a lot of things I've adjusted, and just go back, work on it, and improve for the next one.
Something I know you mentioned on one of the Dragon Days vlogs was that it was almost a bit of a blessing in disguise, the loss coming when it has. Can you sort of expand on that a little bit for us?
Not a blessing in disguise. It's one of them things. It's like if you've got to have it, it's better to have it now. Obviously, if I was 4 fights deep or 5 fights and I was like top 3, and then you take a loss, all of a sudden you get knocked back down and you have to rebuild back up, and it's quite hard. Whereas now, early on, it's like I was starting fresh anyway, so I've gone in there and I've lost a close split. It's like I'll have another fight chance, another sort of chance to get my first sort of foundations built, because that's all these fights are. They're just foundation fights. They're fights that are going to fit your structure and build you up. And like, even though it didn't go the way I wanted, it still sort of helped create that foundation. So I can get a good win in my next fight. It's going to make that foundation nice and firm so that I can really build something from it.
I know you're very open and honest and very engaging with your fans as well. And that's something else I've noticed on Dragon Days. You will go into a lot of detail, even down to like the finances and how the end of the fight ended up and things like that. Why for you is it important to be as transparent as you are with your fans?
Well, to be fair, most of it is out on the internet now. Internet, everything's out. Like, I had a conversation with someone about this, and he said, like, why did you talk about how much money you got paid? I said, because literally we got back to the hotel, and the next day we were sat having breakfast, and all my earnings had been announced on the internet. Anyway, so obviously I had it was announced I had 10,000 fight purse, $2,500 dollars. Sorry, 10,000 fight purse, $2,500 Reebok incentive, and the 50K bonus. So like I said, that's all in dollars. So trying to get it back home and get adapted back into pounds really hit me where it hurt. I'm still sorting that out. So I haven't been paid the bonus money yet. That's coming. So I need to get that sorted. I got a couple of things. I've been speaking to a financial advisor and getting all that sorted. So now that's done, I can get that chased up and I can get all that secured and sort of help ensure my stability moving into this next fight. I'm not the type of person who likes to worry about money. To be fair, I've made some smart decisions on money so far. So everything's just investing in myself at this point. Like I said, I'm at that point where everything's unstable. You've got to get all your foundations cemented first. So again, being honest with my fans is just another part. It just sort of helps things. Like to be fair, the only thing I've seen sort of I've done recently that I've had a lot of, not a lot, but I've had a bit of critique for was the giveaway I did. I did a giveaway Sunday, and some people. What was one of the comments I seen? This stuff is just thirsty. Hate seeing it. Unfollowed. I was like, oh, thanks. what I mean? Like, people don't understand. Like, for me, social media is very, very, very important. Like, for me, it's a retirement fund, and it's something like a lot of people look at and say you shouldn't be worrying about stuff like that. And of course it is. You always have to look for your future. If when I had 16, when I first started working, my first thing my dad said to me is make sure you sort your pension out. It was like, people just look at it and they're like, well, why would I worry about that now? And it's like, well, I want a future when I'm older. Well, if you don't plan for a future, then you're sort of leaving things up to the chance, up to chaos. Like, the more things that are planned, the less things can go eerie. So it's something I've sorted. It's something that I'm really thinking towards. And like I said, social media these days is super important. The YouTube thing I started was mainly because you see how much power these guys have, and if you can build it up. So again, it's just something I really enjoyed it, to be fair. Like, I've got a good crew around me to the point where they message me all the time, like, where's the effing footage? Why haven't you sent the footage? And I'm like, oh, I've been busy this week. But yeah, it's good. It's hard, but I'm learning every time. So this time next year, the videos will be a lot better. Same as my fight then.
I know there's a couple of videos you've already mentioned that if you can get your visa and everything sorted, getting back out to America and going to the PI and Team Alpha Male. Why have you picked them two places specifically to go and train ahead of this next one? And also, I know it's something that PT and Niall have mentioned a lot on the Bash recently, and it was a worry from the start of European fighters being able to get into America following Joe Biden getting in. Have you had any issues trying to get yourself across there for training?
Right. So that's three big questions. So first things first. Why the PI? Do you hear me? Am I still here?
Yeah, you're back now. Yeah, we lost you for a second, but you're back. Yeah.
Right. So three big questions. So why the PI? So the Performance Institute. Again, it's a massive thing that sort of it's talking about foundations, getting those testings done, the VO2 max, the power testing. All these things are going to tell us where I'm lacking when it comes to my strength conditioning and where I'm strong. Obviously, you can have a rough idea, but getting it down on paper is a whole other thing. Team Alpha Male, I've got some solid connections with Team Alpha Male now. I've been out there like 6 times. There's some very good lightweights out there, lightweights and welterweights. Like, I had some good sparring with Max Griffin last time. Tawfiq was out there. I can't say his second name, but he's the risen lightweight champion. He comes out there sometimes. Chris Gonzalez, you've got some good featherweights there. Like, there's loads of people, loads of reasons to go out there and train. And thinking about what I really want to build up on now and the way I want to sort of improve my game, it's going to fit in. So I'm hoping to get out there for about 6-7 weeks and get some good training in. And what was the third one you said?
Issues getting into the country with Biden now being in.
So there's two things on that. So the first one, obviously, unless you're a resident or you've got a work visa, you're not getting into the US. It's easy as that. So I had my work visa before this fight because they didn't know whether I'd be fighting in Vegas or in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, it was in Abu Dhabi. To get a visa for Vegas worked out in the long term. I've got a 3-year visa. My management company sorted all that, and they blew it out the park, to be fair. Like, the way they sorted everything out, I didn't expect it to be so easy, to be honest. Getting into the country now, obviously, with Trump made everything very strict to get in, but there were still ways into the country through Trump. When Biden got in, come into power, he tightened those controls out even more, so that unless you're a resident, you really can't get into the US. So my manager assures me he's 50. Well, he's about 50-50, I think, that he can get me in. So he's in the process of sorting all that out. So I put my trust in him all the way through anyway. And to be fair, he hasn't let me down once. So big shout out to Ram Intensity for being such an insane management company. So if they get me into the US, that'll be fantastic. If not, I'll just do my camp here. There's no problem.
I don't want to keep you for too long, but I've got one last one for you. Of course, you were the last man to hold the lightweight and the welterweight belt. The lightweight belt's currently with Sadari, and that welterweight belt's vacant. If you had to pull on your Ian Dean hat for a couple of minutes, how would you match up them 2 belts for the next trilogy or the one after?
So the welterweight belt, I really don't know what they're going to do with it at the moment, because obviously you've got some fighters coming through but there's no one that's really pushing through now. I think, like, I thought Aaron Khalid should have fought for it in the last one. Obviously, I think if he'd won his last fight, he definitely would have been fighting for that belt. If not, looking at something else. But obviously, he's coming off that loss. So, yeah, I am gutted for him about that. Big shout out to Aaron, who's a good friend of mine. I have to train soon. Ian Gary's on his way up, but I think it's a little bit too early for him to be fighting for that title. You've got Rhys McKee, who's just been cut from the UFC. I think, obviously, I don't think he's fighting this year with the COVID stuff, but he was due he was due the welterweight title fight before I fought for it. Obviously, I stepped in for him to fight against Proctor, so I'd love to see him fight for that welterweight title and finally get that strap. Him being a good friend of mine as well, and obviously I've gone and trained with Rhys. He's a top guy, and yeah, he's really switched on. We get on really well because we both have the same mentality to things. So him rebuilding and the same as me, and sort of taking his time to earn his way back in, I think is honestly a massive move, power move. Lightweight. I think Desmay should be given the title fight. I've been saying this for a long time, but Desmay's obviously he's been inactive for a little bit now. He's been suffering with injuries and different things. And then there's a couple of guys coming through. There's the Figlax. I think the welterweight Figlax, he's working his way up to a title fight. I think he's about a fight or two away. And the lightweight Figlax, I think, yeah, honestly, definitely, that guy looks in unbelievable form. He's going from strength to strength. One big fight for him, and I can see him being in title contention, definitely.
Perfect. Just one thing as well, then, just before we go, because you just mentioned Rhys McKee, of course, getting cut. How much of a surprise did that come to you that he was released after those two bouts? And does that add any pressure to you going into your second fight in the UFC, seeing the way that Rhys was cut so early on?
How much of a surprise? Obviously, it was gutting for me to see with Rhys because I know how stellar Rhys is and how good Rhys is, and he definitely deserves to be in the UFC. But if you look at what they was doing, like before I got signed, they were literally cutting people left, right, and center. And after I got signed, they were cutting people left, right, and center. Like they're really brutal with the way they are with their stock at the moment. Like they just cut people and like they cut high level guys. So obviously the same with me. If I don't win my next fight, it wouldn't surprise me if they cut me. Obviously I'm gonna win my next fight, but it's always in the back of your head. If you don't win these fights, then it's the way it is. You just fall at the bottom. So yeah, I fully understand what happened with Rhys. But I think he's more than good enough to be there. Like he's gonna come back after this year. He's gonna have a couple of decent fights. He's gonna he's gonna bounce straight back into the UFC. Like he deserves to be there. We're both young lads, and he's so talented and he's so good. So yeah, big shout out to Rhys McKee, and I can't wait to see your next couple of fights back.
Mason, it's always a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much for your time tonight. And we'll no doubt catch up in a few moments. We'll see where you're at then.
100%. Right. I'm very much. Speak soon.